Hello, everyone. My name is Sumeet Verlekar. I'm the founder of Tilden Global Education. We are a premier admissions consulting firm located through and operating through various different locations around the world. Uh, Today, we have a very special guest with us, Aryansh Singh, who has got an admit into the Columbia Business School. I will now invite Aryansh to talk a bit about himself. A lot of you guys may be knowing him because of LinkedIn, but over to you, Aryansh.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction, Sumit. It really feels good to be here. So, hello everyone. My name is Aryansh, and I just graduated from IIT Kharagpur and I applied for deferred MBA programs this year with Tilden, and it was a great experience. And now I've got an admit into the Columbia Business School, and I can join anywhere ranging from 2026 to 2029.
Superb. So, do you want to maybe talk a bit about yourself? Just from one of the key things that always people ask is, okay, what's the profile? What kind of profile do I need? So, maybe Aryansh, if you could talk a bit about your profile at an overall level, just to kind of help people understand who you are and where you're coming from.
Yeah, absolutely. So, starting with my profile, initially I enrolled into economics at IIT Kharagpur. As after JEE, I had a very fair idea that I did not want to pursue engineering. I wanted to be in the business domains. So, eventually, given that my degree was a 5 year course, it was an integrated dual degree course. So, I thought, why not explore multiple fields? So, throughout the 5 years, I interned in multiple locations. I started in finance. Eventually, I went to innovation sciences and social impact, and finally I did my compulsory internship at Boston Consulting Group. So I prepared sort of a conventional profile that somewhat of exposure in multiple fields as well as some consulting exposure, and I'll be joining full time at the Boston Consulting Group too. And apart from the internships, I believe that I participated in a lot of competitions, be it by American Express or Hero, or went abroad for a couple of them as well. And my CGPA was comparatively low. It was around 8.5. So I tried to compensate it via my GMAT, which was decent. It was around 98 to 99th percentile. So that was my profile before I applied for the MBA.
Excellent. So, let's talk about MBA because MBA is something that is a big decision. Yeah, and people, regardless of what your background is, right? People from engineering, non-engineering backgrounds, economics backgrounds, art, humanities background, often look at MBA as a step, right? So what was could you maybe take us through what was your thought process about why MBA in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had my undergrad degree also in economics, which is a highly, let's say, business oriented domain. And one thing I could figure out is that there were a lot of things that I could still learn, that even after pursuing a master's degree, there were a lot of like networking aspects, sort of global exposure, the kind of network that you can create with people in foreign MBAs, like top MBA programs. And I saw the value add. Like the kind of opportunities revolutionizing the world's internet in California or working at the cutting edge financial instruments in New York. So these were some of the things that fascinated me while I was thinking about doing an MBA. And hence I made a choice that it makes a lot of sense for me to go abroad for an MBA. And that's why I particularly chose this path.
Okay. So now, Aryansh, you've opted to apply for the deferred MBA route, right? So maybe that often creates a lot of confusion. A lot of people feel that the deferred MBA is like a program in itself, it's like a degree in itself. But that is not the case, as we both know, right? So, in your own words, right, for our viewers, could you explain what is a deferred MBA? What are the advantages of it? And, why did you opt to go for it?
Absolutely. So I also learned about deferred MBA in my third year only, and I thought, what is this new thing? So eventually I realized that it is an option to secure your seat in a conventional MBA program. So if you get enrolled as a deferred scholar, it wouldn't be any different MBA. It's just that one key thing that people do not realize in India is that foreign MBAs require a lot of work experience. So if you can see, the average work experience required at Columbia is 5.0 years. At Harvard, it's 4.9 years. So if you want to pursue an MBA, you'll have to finish your undergrad, then take 4 to 5 years, and then apply for these schools, which is for a lot of people a lot of time for uncertainty to see that they want to go for an MBA or not. and a lot of effort also. Like imagine taking the GMAT, or imagine preparing your essays while working a full-time private equity job, which already takes 90 hours per week. So these were some of the challenges that I thought that a deferred MBA could solve for. So what happens in deferred MBA is that in your final year of undergrad, you can simply apply to some colleges have the deferred MBA program. Mostly all top colleges have them. So you can apply to the program in the final year, and you can secure your seat and enter the conventional program 2 to 5 years as per your convenience. So that is why I personally believe that deferred made a lot of sense, as it would relieve me of all the stress that I could face in the next coming years and secure a good seat.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. So, one of the most important and important, of course, for the person who's asking it, but also a very common one, right, is do I have it, right? Or what are my chances of getting into a top program, a top deferred program? So, how would you self-evaluate? Like, could you maybe talk about your views on this and how you self-evaluated what your chances were?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is some uncertainty that every student faces, and there is a lot of insecurity about it as well. So firstly, yes, getting into a deferred program is somewhat difficult. You'll need to have a decent CGPA. You can't have a super low CGPA. Otherwise, you'll have to compensate it. Like even at 8.5, I was very skeptical about my CGPA. So I gave a lot of effort to score somewhat better in my GMAT. So you need to have some sort of good academics. You need to have some sort of good exposure. Given that these colleges, all the top MBA programs focus a lot on community and the kind of experiences you have. So they see that are you a fit in multiple organizations? Are you delivering value in whatever, be it a position of responsibility in your college or be it your internships? So like these were some of the things: good academics, good position of responsibility or engagement roles, and good internships that show that you delivered a lot of value to the organization you were a part of. Finally, it was also about, does it make sense for you to go for an MBA? And even the admissions committee will look into it, like, is this person meant to be in this program? So like if you are focused on marketing, it could be possible that Kellogg might be a better fit for you than Wharton. So you need to be on the top of your nerves and understand that what is the kind of school that you want to go to. So I believe once you can analyze these factors and beat a conventional, like I've seen people from a very conventional MBB profile to somebody who's pursuing core biotechnology or core machine learning, getting into top programs. So it's about your own journey and how an MBA fits into it. So that is how I believe you can self-inspect.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we learned, guys, from what Aryansh talked about is being a student, you know, whether you like it or not, your GPA is going to be an important factor. Because as a student, they believe that your one of the things that you need to be great at is your academics, right? Um, Having said that, of course, a good academic score definitely is almost like a hygiene there. But how do you really go beyond only academics, right? Nobody is interested if you have a perfect 10 on 10 GPA and you've done nothing else in life. You also need to, as Aryansh rightly said, be a good community member. You need to really be active in your college. You have to be able to add a lot of value inside your college, outside of your college. Really follow your passion. There could be a hobby that you should pursue at a certain level. Basically, what is important is less is more, but whatever you do it in depth and showcase how that really has enabled you to add value to the community, to your college, outside of your college, and so on and so forth. So that's just something that I wanted to also kind of re-emphasize, building on what Aryansh just talked about, right? So let's now talk about Aryansh. The $1 million question also is, were you sure that you would get in, right? And in addition to that, right, were there any apprehensions or doubts you had as you started the process?
Yeah, so talking about certainty, I was never sure that I would get into a program. And even till the date of the last admit, I had no idea that if I was going to get in or not. Even after getting multiple interviews, even after having a very strong conventional profile across extracurriculars and internships, I was never sure that I would get into a program. But I thought that why focus a lot on what I can't control, rather focusing a lot on my application process was what I thought into. And apprehensions, yes, like there were a lot of apprehensions, like ranging from every step in the process. Like there was some sort of doubt, like is my resume good, is this format decent, is my recommender the right person, should I look for another prof, is my essay resonating with who I am, is it resonating with what the school wants. So apprehensions are a part and parcel of the process, but the key thing is like being with good people, being with good mentors who help you out through the entire process. And I was fortunate to have Sumeet. So, like, everybody needs to have somebody who can guide them through the apprehensions, be it people who have already been in the Deferred MBA program. Like, there were a couple of seniors also who tried to help me out. So, these things help a lot in the process.
Yeah, so there you have it, guys, right? So, I mean, nobody is immune from having these self doubts and challenges. I think the one key thing is once you self evaluate that you check a lot of the boxes that seem to be, consistent with what you have seen in past, your seniors, for example, who have gotten admitted, right? So that's once you do the self evaluation, you have to be ready for a long journey where you will have self doubts and apprehensions. And the key thing is that you just have to focus on what you can control, as Aryansh put very beautifully. Just don't think about, like, my friend's applying and he's got like a much superior GPA than me, or, I've got a low GMAT score and somebody else has got a very high GMAT score. I mean, you just have to focus absolutely on yourself. You cannot focus on anybody else, and just try to do the best that you can, right? So that's kind of, it's a fantastic thing that you talked about, Aryansh, and that would be a great mantra for a lot of you guys to follow as you're thinking about applying for the deferred or the full-time MBA or any other program that you really are interested in. All right, so now let's talk about the process, right? It's a so maybe, not necessarily getting into like the absolute weeds of it, but talk about like the timelines, and what are the different things you did in the process and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so one thing that helped me a lot was that I planned well in advance that I had to apply for a deferred program. So as soon as my internship was over in my pre-final year, so I thought that okay, now let's get to the GMAT. So I took some break, I gave the GMAT, and GMAT is another different ball game in which you'll have to invest some time and energy, but nobody plans to give it twice. But a lot of the people I know had to give it on multiple occasions. Even myself, I had to do it on 2 occasions. So keep some room for your GMAT also, because I've seen a lot of people hinder their applications just because of late GMATs or poor GMAT scores, and at the end moment you can't change that. So I gave my GMAT is in my N-1 semester if your program is of N semesters. And after that, once my GMAT was sorted, I saw that okay, my profile aspect and GMAT aspect is done for now. That is not something I can control. Like I've completed my intern, I've received a full-time offer, which was very good, highlighting that I had a synergy with what firm I was working for. And that is also something that schools look out for. After that, once my profile, that is in some way my resume is ready and my GMAT score is I'm ready, then the next 3 to 4 months went a lot on getting on my essays. So this is one of the most time consuming steps of the process, in which you'll have to write n number of essays for x number of schools. So multiple essays you'll have to write, and you can't simply just copy paste essays. There is some sort of essence that every school has to look for. And let's suppose that you might have only 3 target school or 5 target schools. You'll still have to spend a lot of time on curating the exact essay on the prompt which they are putting forward, and which they can also change every year. Like this year we saw Harvard posted new prompts, so that was a challenge that we could not already prepare for. So these were some of the things. And finally, from January to let's say March end, we worked a lot on the essay stuff. The resume was ready. The recommendations were supposed to be sent after our, like, whenever we put our recommenders email. So that was something my recommenders were looking into. So yeah, this was the crux of the process, after which there were the interviews and the group discussions as and when you got an invite.
Right. So how much did the entire process take you, just for our viewers?
So I would say that passively it would take you around 6 months. That is the GMAT and the resume and the rest of stuff. And actively it would take you 4 months. Like for 3 to 4 months, all your bandwidth and like most of your energy is focused on the applications as well as essays part. And trust me, it's more time consuming than it seems. It's
Yeah.
not just another Grammarly blog or something.
Okay, lovely. Right. So that's kind of a great summary. So if you were to kind of look back at your process and now that you're wiser by a year, so what would you do differently?
So I would say that I would like impose hard deadlines on things. Like when my first GMAT got stuck, I was like very low in confidence and I took a lot of breather. That is something that you should be prepared for. That okay, challenges would come, everything would not go as you planned, but okay, you'll need to have contingency plans. Then for essays, like there's a lot of inertia in writing your essays. So when you think of it that you start writing, it's easy, but no, you will just sit in the front of the document and think, okay, what to do now? And that will happen for the next 3 days. You're thinking, okay, what to do now? So like having hard deadlines and brainstorming with people that okay, let's do this, let's try this, let's put it down. So these are some of the things. And finally, taking care of the random factors, like it could be some sort of stress of, let's say, financial constraints of an MBA, or it could be some sort of, let's say, the toll it takes on you during the application process. So I believe these are some things that don't matter in the longer run. You might think that X or Y fees is very high or something is very stressful, but in the long run it pans out. And once you get the offer, trust me, like it's a beautiful journey from there onwards. So I totally believe that these are some pointers that I would have paid a lot more emphasis on, not wasted my time on stressing out and stuff and imposing hard deadlines. So yeah, that's what I would have done.
Excellent. So final question, what advice would you provide to future applicants?
For future applicants, like the profile advice I could provide is that be very true to yourself. So I've seen people have some sort of preconceived notions or trying to showcase some things that don't eventually pan out. Like even in my case, when I was trying to think of pathways that I could focus on instead of what I actually wanted to do, I could not devote my entire energy into it. So be very truthful of what you want to do, why you want to do an MBA, why particularly you want to do an deferred MBA, and why do you want to go to a particular school. So once you are very concrete about these things, I believe you can pave a very good path for yourself and never get disheartened. Like even if you don't get into the deferred MBA program, you can always go for a conventional MBA. So just stand strong, and getting into the deferred application process is a very good precursor of learning about the conventional programs. So that is also something that will help you out eventually. So don't overthink about it.
Great. Just one other thing I wanted to really add, Aryansh, to what you talk about is a lot of people also think that certain schools have a higher, should I say, level versus some of the other schools, right? But I can also tell you that that is absolutely not true. And I understand why people think so, right? So, for example, when you take the JE and if you do well in the JE, there is a set pattern, right? You will go to a X IIT, followed by a Y IIT, followed by a Z IIT, and the branches. Everything is very, very clearly laid out. Or if you do great in the DU entrance test, you know where you're going to go, right? Or if you do well in the Mumbai University or Loyola or whatever, like the society has a pretty well-defined ranking of what you're supposed to do. Yeah, right. Now, one thing that I want you to also be aware is there have been so many examples, and Aryansh knows, some of the people there. You can get into HBS and you can get rejected by all other schools. You can get into
Yeah.
Harvard Business School, but you get rejected by all schools. In full-time MBA, we've had 8 admits to Stanford and Harvard, right? A lot of these people have got rejected by so-called schools which are easier to get into, but besides these two schools, right? So I just want to also let you know that, like we have here, we have a very set impression about this school is good and this school is not good. That is also not the case in a foreign MBA process. Each of these schools are amazing. It's just about where do you really see yourself fitting in more. But each of these, in their own right, are schools that can really take you where you want to go. So it's just something extra that I wanted to add, to the discussion there. Aryansh, anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
Yeah, that's it. Like, I believe it makes a lot of sense, and anybody can reach out to. I believe Sumit is also very helpful with his advice, and I'm also open to all kinds of DM. So, all the best to everybody who will see this video and apply for the Deferred MBA programs.
Thank you, Aryansh. So I just want to give you a bit about our contact details. So you can go to the website, which is right there behind me on the logo. It's www.tilden.in. You can also reach out to the Tilden support team, which is connect@tilden.in. Right. And of course, you can connect with me or Aryansh on LinkedIn. We are more than happy to be in touch. So I wish all of you all the very best and good luck. Uh, do the right thing for your future. Take risks. Be happy. Take care. Bye bye.